Okay, so as far as the new earth, I used to think, oh, what's going to happen? The new earth. But what I've come to realize is it's what is shifting and taking place within me. And then whatever my frequency is, I emit out and I create, right? Do you want to channel some words on the new earth and for starseeds moving forward, what to expect? Mhm. So my guardian angel is saying the new earth is already happening. If you want to say that, the shift and the changes are already taking place within each individual, which in turn is affecting the mass collective or the collective consciousness on earth. And she's showing one, if we look at each of us as a bright light on earth, it's like we're turning on this light. This light's turning on earth. I'm looking at the planet and it's like one light's turning on and becoming much brighter. So each of us opening and expanding, shifting and changing is a really good thing. It's not just about us bringing our light here, but it was also about souls that were ready to shift in this way. Because yes, we can ask souls to come here, but if they're not ready to turn on or light up, that is the whole point of why we are asking you to come here, is to light up the entire planet as much as possible. She's got that a warm smile on her face. So what can you expect moving forward? Turbulent times, turbulent days, pockets of chaos and turbulence in different areas on the planet. She wants to talk about the cost of living in one area versus the cost of living in another area. Spirit doesn't care. Okay? Because if you have an abundant mindset and you practice affirmations and you're focused in on manifesting and bringing in more abundance, it doesn't matter where you live. So keep that in mind. Many of us are doing the old three-dimensional way or the rat race way, where we think we have to work for the mighty dollar. We have to put in the energy and effort. And in many ways, in some areas that is still accurate. It is a way of bringing in abundance, but let's start doing it the easier way now. And the look on her face is like this. Like, come on. Like, you have this at your fingertips. Why are we doing it the hard way? Some of you will be given money. Some of you will be assisted in ways that results in a freeing up of money. Even though there are challenging times ahead. Oh, sorry. Okay. And if you are given money or you're given assistance that frees up money, you are to accept this graciously. Do not decline it. Okay. So that's really important that we remember that. If somebody's going to give you money or help you where it frees things up for you, you are to say, yes, thank you. Those are the only words that are to come out of your mouth. Yes, thank you. Okay. And also, if you feel drawn to helping someone and assisting them, and you're getting a strong pulling to do so, do it. Don't ignore that feeling. Okay. So moving ahead, we're going to have a lot of turbulent days ahead. Okay. They will subside, but it's going to be bumpy for a time. But these days are needed in order for changes to happen. Okay. So she wants to use the example of me needing to find a new home and realizing, oh, rent has doubled and we have less than 1% availability where I live. But if I look at what I'm looking at much less than 1% availability, right? Because I'm not looking at all of it. I'm looking at a specific area. I'm looking at a specific price range. And she's talking about how I was turning to her and really complaining about it. But in order for this, it's a domino effect. So when cost of living goes up, they are now rushing to make changes to cap how much it can raise here in my region in between tenants. And she's also talking about the wages will have to raise, which they have a small amount, but there's more still yet to come. There's going to be more restrictions put in place so that this imbalance does not happen again. But this has been needed for some time. It just hasn't been implemented or put in place. So that's an example. What matters most is not what takes place, rather how. So say do you remember the analogy she used the other day of the warning here is to check to see if the saddle is on the horse tight enough, make sure the reins are positioned, make sure your feet are in the stirrups. And so now you're on the horse and the horse is going to take off, the horse being what's going to happen on Earth, and you're on the Earth's back. So now you're on the horse and you've made sure that the reins and the stirrups and everything are secured properly, right? So she's using that analogy because the horse is going to take off for a while and we're just going to have to ride it out. But it's not how wild it gets. It's about how calm you stay upon the horse's back. Okay? Okay, and the other thing I'm receiving is, as we move forward, as these changes are implemented, these won't be the only turbulent days in the years to come. There's going to be pockets of turbulence off and on for the rest of my life. Yes, but it's needed and it's necessary at this time to enforce these changes to take place on Earth. Okay. She says, if things were just going to go on the way that they were and we didn't have these changes implemented on Earth, the viruses being one of them, we were moving in a direction that was not good for humanity or the Earth herself. So there will be other things implemented that will force individuals to change. That will create a bumpy experience for us upon the Earth's back, but are greatly needed. She's chuckling and saying that the only way that we could possibly completely not be affected by these changes on the Earth would be if you went and bought a piece of land out in the middle of nowhere and you lived off grid where you didn't need services or other people's help. Okay? So maybe you collected rainwater, you had solar panels and you weren't connected to people, or you didn't need help from the system. And she says, in truth, a lot of people will start moving out into the countryside and into the forests. It's already happening now. Okay. A lot will move out of the city centers. Okay. Alrighty then. Holy cow. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? It's just a lot, isn't it? But always remember, you can look at what's happening, but what matters most is how balanced are you in here? Okay? In the eye of the storm. All that matters most is right here. And that will be the number one thing I'll hear from my team repeatedly when I'm seeing stuff kick up. Buckle up, buttercup. Yep. Okay. All right. Okay, so I don't see any questions. Any last words? She's saying that we're all going to be just fine. Hold steady. Make sure your stirrups and your saddle and your reins are positioned accordingly. She keeps using the horse analogy, but I like it. It makes sense. I think she's using this too because I remember being about 15 years old, and I was 14 or 15, and I remember I moved to go with my mom to like more prairie in Alberta, and my uncles own feedlots where they raise cattle for beef. And I remember my cousin said, "Why don't you get on Mr. Brown?" And I said, "Okay." And he's a giant brown horse. And I think this is why she's using this analogy. Even when I see the horse is brown. I'm like, okay. And I remember it was a crazy windy day. I'm telling you, I don't know how windy it was, but it was crazy windy. So he and this other horse were in the center of this pen in the middle of nowhere. And it was all flat and dry and windy. And my cousin's like, "Okay, we're going to get on the horses and go for a ride." My cousin Holly and my sister were on the one horse, and I was on Mr. Brown. And Mr. Brown, we probably made it out about, I don't know, maybe 100 feet away. And he's just like, "No, I'm not going out in this wind. I'm not doing it." And so he turned around and he started galloping towards the pen. And my cousin's beside me galloping, and she says, "Pull on the reins." And I'm pulling on the reins. "Kick him on the sides." I kick him on the sides. And then she's like, "Cover his eyes." So I cover his eyes. Nothing works. And I'm on the back of this beast who's galloping so fucking hard and fast towards the pen. You guys have no idea. And the wind's like at me too, right? And I'm feeling nervous, but yet I'm quite calm inside at the same time. So even though I'm in the middle of a shitstorm, I'm feeling pretty calm. And she's right beside me. Her response was making me probably a little bit more worked up. And the fact that he wasn't responding to anything she was telling me to do. I mean, I was covering his eyes. He didn't care. He knew where the pen was. So I look, and there's this bar going across. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going right for the bar. Is he going to jump it? I don't know if we can jump it because, he swerves last minute, goes around the bar, and then this pen is a spiral, like a cinnamon bun, right? And then in the center is where they hang out. So he comes around the bar, which was like, wow, we made it around. And then he comes whipping around like this. Now I'm on the side of the horse. I'm straight on the side of the horse. and I have my middle finger caught in the rein, and I can't get off the damn horse. And so I'm on the side of the horse, and then my finger just let go, and then I dropped, and he just kept going beside me, and he didn't gallop on top of me, which was the biggest thing. I could have fallen to the ground, and he could have, you know, who knows? I mean, he was huge. So, I mean, I had an owie on my finger, like a little rope burn from the rain, but ultimately, no matter how chaotic and shit showish that got, everything was okay, and I got up afterwards and I was all right. But it was something that I will always remember, and always mental note: don't take the horse out on a super windy day. That's the other thing I think that's interesting to understand is you can be calm in the shit storm, but if you also bring irritation to it, or bring your shit into the shit storm, you can stir it up even more, can't you? Right? That's where road rage happens with people. You can keep calm, or you can spew off and start a fight with someone. So yeah, just remember that. We don't have to take the horse out into the windstorm. You don't have to take your stuff out in front of others and make things worse than. Because it's all temporary. Everything's temporary. That flash of anger is temporary. Everybody's opinions of everybody else is temporary. Everybody loves to give their opinion like it's the end all to be all, but ultimately it's a flash in the pan, and this lifetime is a flash in the pan. So the key is to enjoy it and to be as calm as you can in the eye of the storm. Okay? That's where you want to be. You don't want to be in the storm where things are all over the place. You want to be in the eye of the storm. Now, that's not saying we're going to be perfect. If you go out and you put your fingers in the storm and see how it feels, ooh. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. So I fell off that horse. Could have been a lot worse, but it wasn't. And many times in my life it's been like that. Like, that could have been a lot worse than what it was, but I made it out on the other side, you know, doing pretty darn good. I just happened to have really good surgeons working on me. I just happened to have really good gastroenterologists working with me. And it's just a matter of trusting and having faith. And your frequency and going within is what will create the best outcome for yourself. Always. Okay. All right. That's my Mr. Brown story. They should have called him the little brat. The little brat that didn't want to go out in the windstorm. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.